Well, with me now, my co-commentator, co-scraper of the very bottom of the pun barrel, Mike Taliadoros. You wouldn't have missed this day for anything, would you?
No, absolutely not, Rob. It's a hugely momentous day in the history of Wimbledon. Obviously, when we restarted the club in 2002, obviously we had very lofty ambitions to try and put right a lot of the wrongs that have been kind of foisted upon us in the previous years. And again, it was almost like a dream, really. I mean, we wanted to get back up as far as the leagues as soon as we could when we reformed. But if you'd said to me that we would have been not only in the league in under 10 years, but back at Plough Lane in under 20, then I wouldn't have believed you at all. So it's just absolutely unbelievable. And 30 years on from Bobby Gould addressing Tony Gubber, I think it was, at Wembley, I'm tempted to kind of look at the camera and wink and say, we did it.
When the machinery moved in there behind you, it was similar to a Selwyn Rice or a Vinnie Jones tackle, crunching.
Yeah, absolutely remorseless there, that JCB. Some may he came in from the wrong side of the building, therefore it should have been some sort of free kick, but no, it was very cleanly taken out. It was reminiscent even of the likes of Scott Curley being sent off away at Hendon in 2006, and it was, again, summing up the determination of the Dons to get back to their spiritual home, and of course we all can't wait to be here in a couple of years' time.
Of course, sadly, Dickie Guy couldn't make it down here today, but Ian Cook is here, and of course as well, the man who really was responsible behind the rise at Plough Lane. Starting work, Dave Bassett. Could only be one person here for that, couldn't it? Yeah,
I mean, in many ways, the return of Wimbledon to Plough Lane, it's obviously it's a culmination of a lot of hard work, but also it kind of embodies all the kind of the fairy tales that we've had over the years in Wimbledon. We've always been about turning the unlikely and the improbable into reality, and this is the ultimate example of that. And who two better people to kind of be at the forefront of that for the club? Two of the people who are behind the kind of the miracle, the rise. Ian Cook, of course, all those appearances in the 60s and 70s in the cup ties as well with Burnley and Leeds and Middlesbrough. Dave Bassett, of course, as a player in those cup ties, and then from a managerial perspective, the real rise through all the four divisions as well. So really, two more kind of appropriate figureheads I don't think you can have, but I'm sure we'll get Dickie down here soon and he'll be able to enjoy the scene as well.
And of course, we've also got to talk about Chief Executive Eric Samuelson here today as well. He's going to be supervising the work here, and so many unsung heroes as well, the work of the Bring the Dons Home people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, within the club themselves, from an administrative perspective, you'll say you've got the likes of Eric, of course, who's been absolutely phenomenal at the heart of everything, right down to everybody else who's kind of supported all the meetings that have gone on, all the efforts of people. We've got to say a big thanks to Merton Council, obviously, because for many years, under the kind of spell of Sam Hammam, if you like, we were always led to believe that, it's one of the most instinctive things in life. Anything goes wrong in your locale, you blame the council, don't you? Potholes, local amenities not being up to scratch, and because it's almost like an instinctive thing. And with Sam, with also kind of bullish, and being a real kind of like, supposedly a father figure, but yeah, we sort of went along with it. But now Stephen Allen Britis and all the other people at the council, they must take a hell of a lot of credit as well. Right down to everybody who even just kind of wrote a letter, all the little online things such as back in 2 ticks, the We Are Wimbledon, and everybody who's contributed in any small way. This is for you.
We're from the same generation, of course. We started out in the 1980s. We remember the rise of Wimbledon through from Plough Lane. We remember the times of beating Forest in the Cup, playing the big boys, the likes of Man United at Plough Lane, beating them there as well. And it was really an important part of Wimbledon history, wasn't it? Yeah, very much so. I mean, when the initial election to the league 41 years ago was on the back of those 3 successive Southern League championships, and of course those real 3, David and Goliath FA Cup ties we had with Burnley, Leeds and Middlesbrough, and then there was a bit of a stuttering start to sort of the league career, a bit of up and down, and then suddenly Dave Bassett took over, and then 3 promotions in 4 years, playing at Wembley in the FA Cup final 5 years to the day after clinching the 4th division title at Bury. I mean, that stat in itself just kind of encapsulates all that the Dons are about and what an amazing achievement it was back then. And of course it was all about team spirit at Wimbledon, and we never took anything for granted, and of course all that togetherness and team spirit and never say die approach to the club was then needed when we had the club taken away from us, or they tried to back in 2002, and then we had to really redouble our efforts, and it galvanised everybody. And of course when we're back in here sitting on in a match day in a couple of years' time when we're doing the commentary, Rob, it's again, it's just going to be a real vindication of everybody's efforts. And of course it's given the lie to so many various people and groups who said that this couldn't be done, but today we've started to prove that it can be. We were fortunate as youngsters to be able to come along to Plough Lane and see the rise of Wimbledon then, but this is going to give a chance for so many people who missed out on seeing Wimbledon at Plough Lane now, being able to see the Dons come home. Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, the rise up from combined counties up to League One has given the more modern day generation, if you like, the chance to experience what the real phenomenal rise that was. If anything, it was probably even greater because, of course, we started the club from scratch. That's not, of course, to belittle the efforts of everybody else before, but again, we had to start from absolutely nothing. We didn't even have a set of shirts, didn't have a ground, to start with.
And now, hopefully, a couple of years' time, I mean, again, we're in League One. That'd be a good kind of starting point. If we can come here as a Championship side, I mean, again, there's so many future tales and history just waiting to be written here at Wimbledon.
Absolutely, Mike. It's a pleasure joining us. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks very much, Rob. Cheers, mate.